Toponym burr, Helianthus tuberosus, also known as Jerusalem artichoke, earth apple, midnight citrus, field pear, sand potato, bulba, earth dula, pig, Canadian truffle. Its name comes from the Indians of the toponym Bur tribe. It has been known in Poland since the 18th century. This is an old Polish tuber. It was our staple food, after the millet era and before the yellow potato. It is worth knowing that it is a medicinal plant. It contains polyphenols that are anti-inflammatory and prevent cancer. It soothes arteriosclerosis and Alzheimer's disease and also has a beneficial effect on the digestive system, e.g. in gastric ulcer disease. It slows down the absorption of sugar into the blood. Gentisic acid, found in the tuber, is anti-inflammatory. According to experts, the consumption of 8 grams per day allows for the probiotic effect of the intestinal flora. It restores the acid-base balance, strengthens the immune system and is gluten-free. Eating them has a protective effect on the liver and the functioning of the urinary system. Folk medicine used Jerusalem artichoke to treat cardiovascular diseases and rheumatism. So this plant is coming back into favor because it will help us fight civilization diseases. Jerusalem artichoke, belonging to the Asteraceae, is a perennial plant. Its tubers can be eaten raw and cooked. They are frost resistant so they can stay in the ground all year round. They have the structure of kohlrabi and taste slightly nutty or like unripe sunflower seeds. Jerusalem artichoke, being a perennial plant, grows constantly in the same place, and is a plant that has a high demand for nutrients. Therefore, after 4 years, it should be moved to a new place because over time the tubers may not be so large and the plant itself will grow poorly. If we grow in containers, the soil should be properly refilled every year or replaced. Corn or any other vegetable will be a good crop. In the cultivation of Jerusalem artichoke, principles similar to those of potato cultivation should be followed. It is a plant of considerable size, it can reach 3 to 4 meters, so you should allocate a lot of space for its cultivation. This plant is voracious and expansive. Be careful not to plant it too close to other vegetables as it will choke them. The safe distance is about 50 centimeters. The above ground part may bloom with yellow flowers, but this is not a necessity. It also dies down for the winter, but the tubers remain in the ground so that the plant can recover in the spring. This plant produces underground stolons and shoots at their ends. One plant can produce several dozen pieces of various sizes. If the soil is fertile, properly fertilized and moist, the plant grows very quickly, forming tubers 6 to 12 centimeters in size. One plant can produce up to 50 tubers. Underground toponym burr runners are about 1 meter long. Once planted, it can recover in the same place from each fragment of the runner or tuber for the next 20 years. Jerusalem artichoke, through underground stolons, can be unnoticed throughout the garden, so it is important to choose a suitable place before planting in order to limit its growth. This can be done by planting it in a raised bed, which will limit its growth not only through the side walls but also underneath. It is worth placing there, for example, agrotextile that allows water to pass through. You can also control the plant if you plant it in a container, but it should be large enough to get the desired yield. To limit its growth, dig e.g. a plastic fence into the soil to a depth of at least 30 centimeters. We grow it in a sunny place, but it will also do well in half shade. Full sun must be grown throughout the day to achieve flowering. It produces yellow tiny flowers at the end of summer, but if summer is rainy and fall comes quickly, it will not bloom at all. In the Polish climate, it does not produce seeds. Jerusalem artichoke reproduces only vegetatively. Before planting on heavier soils, dig the soil to a depth of approximate 30 centimeters, while on lighter, sandy soils, up to 25 centimeters. The tubers are planted in the ground in spring or autumn to a depth of 10 to 15 centimeters, 10 centimeters in spring and deeper Indiana autumn. By 15 centimeters, in steps of 40 centimeters. In the rows, the distance should be about 70 centimeters. It can be a stalk of 3 to 4 pieces per square meter. For plantings, the best tubers weighing 40 to 60 grams. They are planted in the fall or early spring. In the following years, new plants grow from the tuber preserved in the substrate. Jerusalem artichoke tubers can also be planted from October to December or from January to March. Autumn planting is more advantageous. It allows you to get an additional 50 days, and thus obtain a higher yield. Deeply planted, they will withstand frost better, and the more space you give them, the larger they will be. For the winter period, they can be covered with litter, e.g. made of straw, but it is not necessary. It is a protection against very high frost. The tubers tolerate temperature drops to -30 degrees Celsius, while the above ground part freezes at -5 degrees Celsius. It requires fertile, airy, humus, slightly sandy soil, but it will also cope with poor soil. It gives poorer yields on very acidic and flooded soils. If the soil is heavy, feed it with compost. It is also worth adding manure, after which the plant will give a rich harvest. Soil, acid to alkaline, pH 5 to 8, dislikes waterlogged soils and heavy loams. Before planting the tuber in the fall, organic fertilization is advisable. However, mineral fertilizers should be used depending on what kind of soil we have. Usually it is nitrogen, 80 to 120 kilograms per hectare, phosphorus, 60 to 80 kilograms per hectare, potassium, 120 to 160 kilograms per hectare. Organic fertilization, e.g. with liquid manure, is sufficient to carry out once a month from April to August. Slurry made of nettle, vermicompost, compost, granulated manure will be good. A large amount of natural potassium has a positive effect. While excess nitrogen can cause a poor yield, the plant will produce a lot of green mass and the tubers will be small. When growing in the field in spring, after the vegetation has started, the first dose of nitrogen is applied, 40 to 60 kilograms per hectare, in the form of ammonium nitrate, and when the plants reach 50 centimeters, the second dose of nitrogen can be used, also 40 to 60 kilograms per hectare, in the form of urea. If we have manure, it is advisable to apply annual organic fertilization, e.g. with manure at a dose of 30 to 35 tons per hectare. Jerusalem artichoke has a very high water demand. Due to its large size and juicy tubers, it gets a lot of it. If it runs out, the tubers will be poor. It should be watered frequently and regularly, but it should not stay in the water for a long time or the tubers will rot. On hot days, you will definitely notice that the soil around this plant dries up much faster than around other vegetables. In the case of water shortage, the plant withers, but returns to its former form after watering. Some recommend trimming flowers for vases or green parts if the plant is growing too large and disturbs your garden. However, I do not recommend this treatment because cutting the green above ground part reduces the yield of Jerusalem artichoke tuber. Instead of focusing on the formation and development of the tuber, the plant will begin to spend energy on regrowth of the green mass that has been trimmed. In winter, the above ground part, the green one, withers, while the tubers continue to develop. It can then be trimmed about 10 centimeters above the ground. You can harvest the tubers in late autumn or leave them until spring and they will be even bigger and tastier. It is best to harvest them from October to February, then they are the best in taste. Harvesting in the remaining months is not advisable because the tubers are not very tasty then. During the growth phase, the soil around the plant should be weeded and slightly agitated. When it is large, it will choke other plants by itself. There are several varieties of Jerusalem artichoke. The tuber skin is thin and tender. It comes in beige, yellow, red or pink. Inside, the tubers are white or yellow. In Poland we can find two varieties of this species, Albik with white, elongated tubers and the Rubik variety characterized by pink skin and irregular shape. White Albik is considered a tastier option to eat, while Rubik is considered a forage variety, not because of its taste, but because of the difficulty in peeling. Harvesting usually takes place in the fall in October before the soil freezes, or in spring in March. The longer they stay in the substrate, the the tastier they are. Digged from the ground, they can be stored for 5 months. Place them in damp sand and leave them in a cool room, otherwise they lose their juiciness, wilt, dry out and mold easily. It can also be stored in polyethylene film at a temperature of 0 to 2 degrees Celsius and air humidity in the range of 85 to 95%. Be careful not to damage the delicate tuber skin. The plantation yields about 10 to 35 tons per hectare. Due to the fact that they are poorly preserved, it is best to leave them in the ground and dug them up as needed. Before the planned harvest, the stalks are cut and shredded. The residues can be collected or left in the flower bed as green fertilizer for better yields. The spring harvesting of Jerusalem artichoke should be done as early as possible, because the tubers germinate and take root very early. When we grow Jerusalem artichoke for green mass, the above ground part can be mowed in June, August, and November. In the following years of cultivation, it is advisable to use plant ordering, such as e.g. potatoes, in the field with a potato filler or a hoe. This treatment not only kills weeds, but is necessary to limit excessive, uncontrolled growth. Jerusalem artichoke, as a perennial plant, can recover from 2 small, uncollected pieces. Without this treatment, it is very easy to overcompact the plantation, which results in a reduction in the yield and the formation of numerous small pieces of tuber. This plant does not require much attention and is quite easy to grow. It is quite disease resistant and requires no spraying. Under good conditions, it is not attacked by diseases at all. Among the diseases, the greatest losses in the plantation can be caused by Sclerobinia sclerotianum fungus, gray mold, and sunflower rust caused by the fungus Puccinia helianthi. The most dangerous for this plant is sclerosis rot, the symptoms of which are brown spots, tarnish on the leaves and on the lower parts of the stems. Heavily infested plants wilt and die. Symptoms of the disease also appear on tubers, causing them to rot during the growing season and storage. The control of this disease consists in planting healthy individuals, removing diseased plants and establishing crops in disease-free fields. The remaining diseases do not have a significant impact on the Jerusalem artichoke yield. Aphids and woodworms sometimes appear from pests, but they also do not cause significant damage to the crop of this plant. It is also attacked by caterpillars of grain farmers and snails, but from pests. The most dangerous are volley and voles, which can eat Jerusalem artichoke tubers. Jerusalem artichoke can be prepared like potatoes, eaten raw, boiled, grilled, marinated, and make alcohol, coffee, porridges, flour, or fructose syrups. The above ground parts remaining after cultivation can be used as compost material or feed for animals. As an energy plant, 3 kilograms of its dry stems and leaves of Jerusalem artichoke is equal to 1 kilogram of carbon. Their leaves and stems can also be used as mulch material. The resulting ash can be used as fertilizer. The stems are also often used in the production of substrates for cultivated mushrooms, e.g. champignons. Jerusalem artichoke tubers have a sweet, slightly nutty flavor, and thanks to the valuable nutrients they contain, help to cleanse the body of toxins, promote the development of beneficial bacterial flora in the digestive system and support the immune system. Containing a number of valuable nutrients such as minerals, mainly potassium, copper, magnesium, calcium, iron, vitamins, including C and B1. Carbohydrates, mainly inulin, as well as starch and simple sugars, silicas and organic acids. The inulin contained in them helps to maintain the correct level of sugar in the body, therefore its consumption is especially recommended for people suffering from diabetes.